Welcome back to the LCS for Game 3, where we've got a potential playoff preview between budding rivals, and I want to take a look at the jungle positions for these two teams, e.g. Svenskeren, first up.
Yeah, Svenskeren, it's something that we want to talk about a little bit, like what kind of a player he actually is. You know, what is he doing for the team? He is someone who has had fairly good vision stats, and he has been playing, I think, less the carry style that he used to in the past, that he was kind of known for, dominating, and more, I think, controlling the jungle, tracking the enemy jungler, defending his lane so that they can have success.
Yeah, he's got like top 2 in pretty much all the vision metrics for junglers, and you know, junglers tends to be the second most important vision role on the team behind supports, of course, and that's what he is doing. He's being the frontliner, he's helping to make that all happen. Globally, North America skews a bit low for jungle vision, so, you know, Svenskeren's like middle of the pack worldwide, but very good for NA standards at the very least, and that is good to see him have that going through. On the other side, though, he is against Santorin, and Santorin, to me, has been absolutely outstanding. He is, I think, the only player in the LCS with above a 50% first blood rate. The man is like first place by a lot by that metric. He is everywhere. He's got gold leads. He's ganking. He's doing everything.
I think one of the things that has been most impressive to me about him is his pathing, because he's so unpredictable. We have seen so many junglers, it feels like, kind of default to like these full clear styles, or, you know, just really kind of predictable paths. He is doing level 2 ganks on Trundle. He's doing level 2 ganks on Volley and Sett at times, and he's doing them at, you know, from angles and from areas that are not expected. And, you know, he's so consistently able to find successful ganks in the early game because of the surprise factor, because you can't expect what type of path he's going to do. He's not level 2 cheese ganking every single game, but if he sees the opportunity, if he sees the angle, he's going to punish you for it and capitalize on that to grab first bloods. And it's something that I think is really, really difficult to prepare for when you're going against a player who shows so many different looks and so many different paths. You just don't know when to ward and when to expect him.
Yeah, he's been outstanding, absolutely great player. And so before we head into the game, let's hear from the Tigress and that FlyQuest jungler himself on his win of last week's MasterCard Player of the Week.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. It's so great to get a chance to hear from MasterCard Player of the Week. Before we head into this game, Santorin, I'm going to ask you to take a step back, thinking about the 2-0 week that was experienced last time around against Team Liquid and Golden Guardians. What do you feel was the key to the 2-0 week for FlyQuest, as well as the overall second appearances Player of the Week in Summer for yourself?
Against Teal, I definitely think Solo had a really good performance. I feel like he basically like carried the game for us. He was straight up smurfing. And also, I just think we finally kind of got back to the groove. We were playing better as a team again. I felt like we had a couple of shaky weeks where we weren't playing that well individually, and we were playing bad as a team. So it just felt like we were kind of slumping. And I feel like now we're finally out of it, and we're starting to become like a really good team again.
Well, speaking of kind of getting back into the groove, then, some of the things you as individuals are known for you, for instance, your early game is looking real good. I mean, plenty of stats to prove it. Your first blood kill participation is insane. So when we're talking about FlyQuest and we think about these scaling mids and these late game performances, how does your early game jungling play a role in that?
Well, I think right now as a team, we're really good at getting through the early game. And then obviously we have PowerOfEvil, who's amazing at carrying the game later on. So like my whole role in the team right now is to like make these early things happen. That's why I think we have so much kill participation for me. I always try to like be really proactive early in the game. And then I feel really comfortable with like who I have as my carriers later on. So I don't mind sacrificing myself a little bit to like give the first blood to my teammate and then go from there.
And it is a very important role to fill, right, to get the team to where it needs to be. And if we're looking at some of the aspects that also played a role into that, getting IgNar onto the playmaking supports, we're talking so much about how these support picks can play a role. So from your experience and how different the game can go depending on the support pick, I'm just curious as to your thoughts on some of the picks that are coming through, because we've been talking so much about some of these star performances in the bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, I think IgNar is an excellent player. I don't think he can only play like engaged champions. I think he's actually good at like basically every single style. I just think he really shines for our team when he's playing engaged, because we have really strong carry performance, like especially our mid laner. And I think also our AD has been stepping up huge now. I think Jason's playing really well. So I just think we look really great when IgNar's engaging, because he always finds like really good angles to engage and fight. And he definitely sees like when we should take the fight and when we shouldn't.
So considering what he brings in that role, what you bring with your jungling, we're just talking about PowerOfEvil and Solo, everyone on this team, the bot lane doing well. You're going into this game against EG. Playoffs are just around the corner. Every game matters. How do you think FlyQuest is going to fare in this matchup?
I definitely think we should win. I think we're just better individually and as a team, and I think we'll show that today.
All right. Well, I know that I'm ready to see what happens. I bet you are. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me.
Thank you.
And with that, let's go ahead and find out who's going to take the win here, sending it back over to the casters for Champ Select.
Thank you very much, Gabby. And we are in a Champion Select. Evil Geniuses and FlyQuest doing battle to see what else can happen. EG trying to get closer and closer to securing an upper bracket spot in the playoffs. They can still be caught right now. FlyQuest, right now, a game and a half behind second place. That Cloud9 DSM clump are just up at 11 wins. FlyQuest can go to 10 here themselves. And hey, next win, they've got easy matchups. I'm expecting them to reach all the way up to 12-6. So we'll see if they can make that one happen. We are in a champ select with bans coming through. Orianna, Azir, and the block. 3 big carries, all taken away from PowerOfEvil.
Wow, a lot of focus towards PowerOfEvil and a lot of respect to how well he has been playing. You know, Santorin talks a lot about how PowerOfEvil and he, their job is often to withstand the early game because he, tends to pick more scaling picks to go more towards the team fighting style. And as a result, they feel like they're winning the game if they can go even. They feel like they're winning the game as long as they can withstand the pressure from their opponents. And this time, EG is definitely trying to hold down PowerOfEvil. 3 mid lane bans towards him. First pick Syndra. So Goldenglue trying to push PowerOfEvil out of his comfort zone. With those 3 banned away, plus the Syndra actually taken, there's not a lot of picks that PowerOfEvil has actually shown still throughout the rest of the split. He has his Cassio, Corki, and Kassadin all have 1 play. Diana would be interesting. This is considered a Syndra counter in the 1v1, and we did actually see him bring it out in the past. I don't think he had a lot of success with it. I believe he played it in spring, but not going to get locked in just yet.
Not just yet. I think, yeah, you can maybe wait till 3rd pick on red side if you're comfortable with the other champions right here. That will mean you're kind of locked out of a support pick in case there's some kind of counter pick stuff going on. Like if Caitlyn Morg shows up, you really want Karma or you're not probably winning that lane very easily.
Yeah.
As we just saw, right? Cloud9 actually clapped with that lane. Ashe Karma, of course, very, very strong, but not going towards Caitlyn right now. EG, Bang still really only plays 2 champions. He wants to play Ezreal or Aphelios every single time if he can. Ashe is gone. Aphelios got nerfed, so he's on Ezreal duty.
I think that's kind of concerning, though, and long term, that is going to hurt EG if your opponents can essentially always get a winning matchup in the bottom lane, because Ezreal and Aphelios both have been kind of hurt by a lot of the other champions getting buffed and by receiving some nerfs themselves. So you would expect this to be a pretty bad lane for him on that bottom side. And it's going to be double solo lane picks here for EG with what we suspect is a jungle pick for the Sett. We're probably going to see that in the jungle. Obviously, Solo does play quite a bit of Sett himself. But FlyQuest is not going to be able to have parity in the picks. They could go towards a mid lane answer. If you do that, though, there is the ability for them to still target potentially Santorin and try to push him down further.
Yeah, I would like to see some aggressive fighter, like an Aurelia, kind of thing going on there. Those are really, really good matchups up in top lane. I know Solo would love to play an aggressive fighter, right? The man has a ton of Renekton games, for example. Like, that would have been the counter pick if you're looking for those. But EG, I understand the choices, right? They're saying, okay, we know we're against FlyQuest. We know PoE is important. We're going to just destroy the entire control mage champion pool and first pick that for Goldenglue. Okay, that makes sense. All right, also, by the way, our top laner is Huni. We really, really want him on Rumble or Gangplank. Okay, so we're going to pick that one early as well. Okay. That decision, all makes sense, but it means that FlyQuest should be poised to find some very severe counter picks and try to really take over those lanes. If not in a winning 1v1 matchup, a matchup that outscales the game and says, well, you can't punish me, I'm going to get, into late game for free.
The only thing is, though, because the solo laners weren't actually, counter picks and stuff didn't come through already for FlyQuest, you can just throw more bans towards solo lane. Right? So it's like, if there's 5 mid lane bans, can you really get that like super sick counter pick to slam lane? I don't know, right? We'll have to see how deep PowerOfEvil's champion pool does go, how practice he is. The Ahri getting banned out is not something we've seen him play, in a long time. I did mention the Diana that got hovered. I double checked. It was played 1 time in spring in a loss, so he still has that. But it is such a different play style, not just for him, but for the whole team. I wouldn't be surprised to see EG just go to Rakan because that's kind of just what they play all the time for IgNar. He does have a lot of different champions played, but Rakan is 6 games, Pantheon the next most played at 3, and then it's a bunch of champions with 1 play. We have also seen him play the Rakan alongside the Ezreal quite a bit. You know, it is a losing lane, but it is more about how effective IgNar is at finding good angles in team fights.
Yeah, I mean, Zeyzal, we'll see what he goes for here. I mean, Yuumi is buffed back up, so like if you want to go for the Yuumi Ezreal, I mean, that's possible on the EG side, right? Of course, we're up against Ashe Thresh here on the other side on FlyQuest. I am interested to see what happens, right? The Shen, you know, Shen, I feel like it's not normally what you really pick against Rumble unless you're ganking for it, but that one's going to be dropped off the table here. Ahri, try to get rid of some of the assassin matchups to keep Goldenglue alive, so just goes to a fairly safe and easy. Corki here on PowerOfEvil, that's going to feel pretty solid. You can easily go early Hex Drinker and survive the matchup, and then, you know, look to scale pretty well late game.
It's kind of interesting because with 4 mid lane bans, you just put them on Corki.
Yeah.
Does that feel like it accomplished anything? I feel like this is kind of something that PowerOfEvil might have picked anyway. Like, you know, he's pretty comfortable playing these types of matchups, and yeah, we'll see exactly where they want to go. Zeyzal looking like he will go towards the Nautilus, so it's a lot of engage here. With that Nautilus, the ability to try to go in, I think, is quite effective against the Ashe, who doesn't have any sort of dash or anything like this. We'll find out, is this solo playing at top, or is Santorin going to be playing that Sett jungle? They both have a lot of plays on it. You know, it is actually tied for the most played for solo in top lane. It is the most played for Santorin in the jungle, so it could be going either way. Trundle coming through means that should be a top lane Sett.
Yeah.
And Trundle, pretty nice into the Volibear, you know, someone who's going to be building full tank that you can ult and make yourself a lot more tanky on. Also, you know, decent ability to try to gank some of these lanes, especially someone like the Rumble. If Rumble is pushing, can be susceptible to a Trundle gank. Generally speaking, Syndra is not very susceptible, especially alongside the Corki, because you're expecting phase rush, which negates a lot of the ganking power here from the Trundle. But pretty interesting matchups. I mean, I do think that FlyQuest have the winning bottom lane. I think a lot of it is just going to come down to, can EG actually get an advantage in the mid lane, because Corki is going to be an incredibly strong team fighter later on, and it's just a matter of, can Goldenglue establish enough of an advantage here to kind of make this draft worthwhile, because you first pick Syndra and you put 4 of your 5 bans on mid lane.
Yeah, you're really hoping that that's going to work out for you when all of your draft priority entirely was placed in the mid lane. On to Goldenglue here, standing in the mid lane, signed just a couple of weeks ago. He's only got, I mean, this is his 6th game on EG this year, right? Like, they're going to hope that this can be what they need for this one. They got Huni on, you know, ultimate comfort here as well with the Rumble. They saw Sett already picked. He's like, that's fine. I'm okay with the matchup. Statistically, a little bit Sett favored, not horrible though. Certainly what we see from Huni is, well, mid-game team fights come around and he puts out 7 million damage and the team fight is 1. The team fight damage output is there. Right, Syndra, Rumble, Ezreal is a ton of upfront burst. They've got some frontline that can certainly work on the EG side. But on the FlyQuest side, as you're kind of mentioning, right, well, you got Ashe Corki. The back line is great. You're ready to go on that one. Thresh can keep people safe. This can look really good for either side. FlyQuest have been hotter as well. EG are on a 2-game losing streak. FlyQuest, I think, have won their last 3. They're looking pretty solid, and they're just right behind that playoff by spot as well.
It's also worth noting that despite the fact that Huni actually hasn't played Rumble in the LCS this split, it was his most successful champion in Academy while he was down there. He had a 75% win rate over, yes, just 4 games, but he was actually crushing it on the Rumble. Obviously, you know, his kind of best 2 known picks these days is GP and Rumble. Those are the 2 that I think people have the most faith in him on, so we'll see how he can do against Solo. I do think Solo, though, is very stalwart in the top lane. Like, he's one of those top laners that I think I value very highly because he's so good at playing without having a lot of attention. Sometimes they will play towards him and try to get him an advantage, but he can withstand, you know, a lot of pressure. He can withstand playing weak side, and you know, he's not usually someone who gives up a big lead to his opponents, which make Huni's job a lot harder.
Yeah, I think he's absolutely an impressive player overall. I think Solo is top half of the league at the very, very least. I think this guy can fight for #1 on a good day. Obviously, there's some incredible names up there in the top lane, but I really think Solo is phenomenal. And honestly, I kind of favor him in this game. I think Solo's been having a better year than Huni overall. I think, again, his matchup is slightly favored. Like, I'm expecting good things out of Solo in this game. Even without a lot of jungle pressure overall, I think it's going to look pretty solid. I'm a big fan of how FlyQuest's been doing. I think they are looking really, really sharp. It's kind of funny because the more I'm like, okay, I'm really, really believing in FlyQuest now. Maybe you're #3. We see TSM spiking up really hard as well, and they're also really impressive. Maybe both teams are better than Cloud9 now, and that's actually our top 3 anyway. It's like, well, actually, but that's the kind of quality we're seeing out of FlyQuest. Based on what I've been seeing over the last 6 games in the LCS, FlyQuest are a Worlds caliber team. Based on what I'm seeing, FlyQuest are going to Worlds. Will that necessarily happen? I don't know, right? Playoffs have to happen. You got to get top 3 in the Summer Split playoffs. We know they're going to playoffs. We know EG are going to playoffs. These teams are likely fighting each other in the first round, but FlyQuest looks like a team that will make top 3.
Playoffs is just getting so much more interesting for me, though. It felt like early on in the year, it's like, yeah, okay, well, we're going to have playoffs, then Cloud9 will win. And now, you know, you're talking
2 teams
about,
will
okay,
limp into Worlds.
Yeah, and now you're kind of talking about, you know, is Cloud9 even top 3? You know, does that mean Cloud9 is number 4? And who knows, right? They might just completely bounce back and still crush it in playoffs. But you also earlier were talking about Golden Guardians is probably quality of a top 14. So if you have them up there, FlyQuest up there, you know, TSM, Liquid, you know, Cloud9, all these teams are having the potential or putting in performances to really be able to kind of justify themselves as potentially being, you know, one of those teams that can be a threat in playoffs, right? You know, Golden Guardians, some people may scoff at that, but, you know, 8-3 in your last 11 games is very impressive. And, you know, Cloud9 is the one of all of that bunch that has struggled the most in the second half by far. So despite the fact that they are the Spring Split champions and dominated in Spring, a lot of these teams are within striking distance, it's feeling like now, and FlyQuest is definitely one of those squads who, on their best day, really can look very good.
Absolutely agree. FlyQuest can look great on the right day, and we'll see them get around the map. This is going to be a small leash from Solo towards Santorin on the red. Similarly, the dual lane leashes Svenskeren on his red buff, and we have similar starts overall. A little bit of early pressure for Trundle and IgNar. As you mentioned, Ashe, Thresh feel a little bit favored. I agree with that one. Should look pretty solid overall as they're going for their early starts in this one. Solo and Huni going to trade blows back and forth. Conqueror, not a big surprise there. Punches them a couple of times, takes the better half of that trade.
I will also say could be potentially a pretty tough game for WildTurtle come teamfight time. I do think that IgNar may have to play more defensively than Thresh normally would, simply because Nautilus ult plus Rumble ult onto the Ashe's head is very difficult to deal with. You also have a lot of damage that can actually reach the backline, such as Ezreal ult, Scatter the Weak, you know, even Volibear jumping in there. So there is a lot of dive threat onto WildTurtle, and I think that is what EG is going to try to do, to try to get on top of this Ashe and actually knock him down. So IgNar needs to make sure that if that's the case, he's in a good position to actually defend his marksman, you know, with a lantern.
Now Svenskeren going to knock down that blue buff, smites it for health at the very end, is level 3 and can play around top 10 if he wants to. Says, you know, Trundle doesn't tend to take chickens on his first clear, so I'm going to go try to steal those away. I'm always a really, really big fan of top-level players who all he knows is, okay, Sett leash topside. Okay, well, based on that, I think I know what Trundle's path was. End of the day, though, Santorin says, no. I'm here for this one. I'm going to defend my own red. And all of this, I believe, was through mostly Fog of War. Hawkshot, of course, saw Svenskeren on blue, and I think it saw him pathing upwards, but now a near stun from Syndra, re-engage towards Goldenglue, but he's away enough from the pillar that ultimately nothing is happening. And I want to point out, Goldenglue is losing farm right now. The mid lane wave is dying without him, and that means he is down golden XP. He is zoned away from his lane right now, as Scuttle's now being fought over. Huni shows up to help. Goldenglue takes away a Scuttle Crab and tosses it right back over, but Svenskeren's already over the wall. They're fighting over IgNar. Big triple stun, flash over, first blood for Huni, and he takes down PowerOfEvil as well. What a chaotic early game, as now it's Santorin's time to run away.
Yeah, Santorin going to be able to get out of there. They just barely couldn't kill Svenskeren. IgNar had this roam that honestly looked like it had already paid off. The pillar was easily escaped from by Goldenglue because he has phase rush, but then they say, all right, we just want to fully zone him off, so they're making him walk the whole long way around while he's losing farm. But IgNar is only level 2, and they decide to actually commit for this. So, you know, once they've fully committed to this, I mean, this initial roam I think was great. You've set up a freeze for PowerOfEvil. You don't need to go for more. Look where Goldenglue is. Look where the wave is. If you just fully freeze this, then you're in a great spot. Instead, they give up the freeze. It's actually minions dying to the turret now. They hard engage here onto Svenskeren, and it looked like they were going to be able to make it work, but you know, the Triumph Fields start coming through because they burst down this level 2 no shockwave, no aftershock Thresh, who was incredibly squishy. So Triumph Fields are coming through on Svenskeren. Huni roams down, and it all of a sudden got turned around so badly on FlyQuest because honestly, it just felt like they got a bit greedy. I think you just freeze that wave, you have Goldenglue zoned away, you're winning this matchup that EG drafted entirely for, and you can just be happy with that. You outscale. You don't need to do anything too crazy.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I watched the replay, I'm like, man, I'm just shocked they didn't kill Volibear. Like, I'm like, I knew they had double kill. I'm like, how did Sven live? Like, he's CC locked, and it was like, well, triple stun from Goldenglue, I guess, get wrecked. But yeah, end of the day, right, clearly the aggression was punished. Clearly it was an overstep. Well played to EG. You deserve coming ahead of that one. And so 800 gold lead to the underdogs right now. I mean, they are 7-8. They roster swapped at 5-5. And the new roster is 2-3 right now. This is their 6th game together with Huni and Goldenglue in the lineup. Looking to maybe go 3-3 with this group based on the fact that they're currently beating FlyQuest here. Bot lane, you can see the smallest of farm leads to Bang. It's going to be +1 unless they somehow drop this farm with nothing to contest it. And at the end of the day, Svenskeren is back to take the chicken camp.
Yep. FlyQuest, though, you know, they are 1,000 gold behind off that play. Obviously going to be regretting it a bit, but they still have double cull on their marksman. They're scaling up here. Going to be trying to get themselves back into a pretty good spot. And thus far, you know, this mid lane pick really hasn't done much of anything. And I actually feel like PowerOfEvil is the kind of player who, I mean, since there's a Rumble, maybe he'll still go Hex Drinker, but I honestly feel like you can get away without the Hex Drinker a lot of the time if you are sitting in a pretty good spot. Volibear here, though, moving in. They could be looking for him.
There's a bear. He's running quickly. PoE low-ish on mana, but I believe had enough to Valkyrie way if absolutely needed, so nothing to really gain right there. Plays it defensively enough. Fleet footwork obviously helps with the move speed once in a while there as well, so he's just fine. Keeping pretty much equal in farm to Goldenglue. And overall, no real harm or foul into this mid lane, despite dying, able to stay up in the lane. The kills, of course, want to point out, did go to Rumble and Volibear, so already Huni has a nice early start where he's got health on top of the armor. Seeker's Arm Guard, of course, nice, but until you get the Ruby Crystal, you're not really that tanky. So now Huni going to be almost impossible to kill for solo in the top lane.
They'd have to be relying on an overextension, right? Because if he does overpush and Trundle comes up, it's not as though this is like a phase rush Rumble or anything.
Yeah.
Right, this Comet. So you still can get run down by Trundle plus Sett, but we definitely don't expect him to be dying in the 1v1 by any means. And he's going to be in a pretty decent spot. Huni going a bit more of a defensive build here, though. I think the Seekers is smart, but just knowing Huni, I wouldn't have been surprised to see him just rush towards double spell pen and try to get ready for those team fights around dragons. That's usually where Rumble has his most success. You know, if you can get to Sork Boots plus Oblivion Orb and just get ready to go as soon as possible to try to get that big equalizer back on the marksman.
Of course, we're seeing Cole on Bang as well. Took his recall for Tier Cole, which is becoming a very, very common Ezreal recall. And TP's back to lane. Now a fight over this side of the river as Zeyzal walks in. Does have Flash Ignite as well. IgNar, as we know, has no Aftershock. Lantern comes in case there is a pull. Here's the Flay in. Looking for the combo right now. What's going to happen to the Drake? It's picked up there by Svenskeren and a dunk into the back line as well. Goldenglue on the board. One traded back through already. Solo low on help, but gets the kill and flashes back to safety on top of the equalizer, but he's going to stay alive out of that one. It's a couple of kills coming through on both sides here. You can see a tight one overall. Zeyzal and Svenskeren, though, both dead as the price for getting that Drake.
Very close fight. Honestly, I think they're still going to be okay with it, given that they did secure that dragon. It could have been much better, though, for EG. It did look like they almost were able to get a number of those members, and I feel like based on the placement of Huni's equalizer, I think he felt like they were going to be able to push their opponents back more into where he was placing that equalizer. Initially, he is kind of prepping himself for a potential flank, then he drops it here across where the retreat path would be. But given that he drops it here, really it just gets a couple ticks there onto the marksman, and they're able to step out of it, still have pretty good positioning in this fight. And still, EG do come out on top with that dragon, but the gold lead is closing.
Yeah, end of the day, the trade long-term was a kill for a Drake. Ultimately picked up there, Infernal on EG, +1 kills. The FlyQuest gets them on the board for the first time around. Bang did have to burn Flash to stay alive as he was getting shot by the Ashe. It's Ezreal. You don't almost ever need Flash, and you're probably fine in most cases. Goldenglue is handed a blue buff. WQ over, grabs it, no problems for him as well. Manamune picked up for PowerOfEvil, so is going to delay. This is the very common build. I'm not saying it's wrong by any means. Of course, delaying Triforce, no Hex Drinker yet, just going for the most raw damage possible. Of course, Corki has a bunch of spells that scale off bonus attack damage. The Q and R, definitely very meaningful. And a Manamune does a lot for that.
Yep, it's just going to be stacking up that flat mana as well. Generally speaking, you're always going to go Presence of Mind when you go for these tier builds, and then the on-hit damage with the more mana is that much higher because you have such an enormous mana pool. Allows your poke to be pretty much coming out nonstop. The wave could be coming out pretty much nonstop. So it is a great build, and he didn't get forced towards the Hex Drinker despite there being double magic damage solo lanes. He has that package. He is looking to threaten a roam here over onto Bang and Zeyzal, and they're expecting it. They dropped that pink ward over the wall to spot him out. They knew as soon as he's missing from that mid lane, you have to respect the package roams.
Mid was pushed in, they knew he had package, runs down, they back off enough that all they do is lose a turret plate, but it is a turret plate picked up, and it's FlyQuest getting what appears to be the first plate of the game, gets that gold a little bit closer, only a 2 to 100 gold lead, so really the difference is 1 plate worth of gold, and Svenskeren walking through a pair of wards is like, okay, well that's just 60 gold to me. Huni just going to shove the wave into the turret and unlock his ability to roam, knocks down the cannon. Not going for, maybe goes for the plate. I don't know, it seems a little bit difficult, but Solo going to last it under the turret. Huni can roam around, not going to look to poach anything, just going to take the recall.
But you can see, Huni not feeling fully confident in his ability to safely push that in because he didn't know where Santorin was, and he had to equalize to actually push that in, right? You know, that's your big ultimate down. So no one's really even scared of a Rumble roam if he doesn't have that. And that was kind of forced out because Solo set up a freeze. You know, while Huni was moving down towards mid lane, Solo just tanked the wave and set up a freeze. Then as soon as the equalizer is dropped and the wave is reset, oh, nice shift.
That is a nice hook, though, into the box, into a lantern. Hello, Santorin is here, and uh-oh. IgNar, be careful. Zeyzal turns into gold and then turns into gold. And WildTurtle's pockets. FlyQuest Turtle gets 300 more for that one.
Yeah, and I mean, add the value of that stopwatch because it did nothing. So going to be able to be a very effective attempt there, despite the great shift. Really good reaction time from Bang to avoid the arrow coming in from WildTurtle. IgNar did nail that hook, and they get the kill on Zeyzal plus the stopwatch. They're going to be feeling really good about that one. Goldenglue is shoving here in mid lane, but PowerOfEvil will be there in time to actually pick this up. And since PowerOfEvil got a kill over by the dragon, he has his cull almost cashed out here. You know, he is actually going to end up ahead in the laning phase of Goldenglue and feeling really good about his position.
Yeah, looking pretty solid right now. So gold lead to the FlyQuest side. We're seeing the rest of the plays now around the map because Herald will summon bot side, does have global range. 320 gold earned there by Svenskeren. Well done as he runs around the map. There's something else to do. And Herald will drop. End of the day, so many times you will find yourselves not actually able to get the perfect Herald summon. You're like, screw it. Just get the 2 plates, cash it in, see you later. We got some money. We'll try again next time around. Better than nothing to get 320 gold out of that one.
It's better than nothing, but it still seems pretty weird. Because if anything, why wouldn't you just drop it mid lane then, if you're going to do it like that, right? The turret was full HP bot lane. It's not as though they were threatening a kill there. I think it's more important to take Corki out of his kind of safety and farming zone there. Plus, taking away that mid lane turret makes it much more difficult to defend vision around Dragon and Baron. So if you're just going to YOLO drop it, I would have preferred to see them do it mid lane. And Goldenglue even had the wave pushed up to the turret and was autoing the turret. So I think they could have done that, but we'll see.
Ultimately, Svenskeren wasn't there. Right, just like just the way the timing worked out. I agree there was better targets. Now, speaking of targets, there's one right on Svenskeren's back, and he's going to get dropped already. And just when EG wanted to fight for the Drake, they roamed everyone down. They took the recalls. They got Herald out of the inventory, and they weren't ready for an Ashe arrow. Sven could have just ulted it. He could have just pressed R and gotten back to his team. Instead, he was stunned, didn't see it coming, drops down. Drake grabbed easily by FlyQuest. They got the kill as well, and now maybe a re-engage. Zeyzal able to run away, but it is such an obvious and easy pickup there on the FlyQuest side. Now PoE has Hex Drinker. He's not an easy target as Syndra levels up, and FlyQuest have just completely turned this game around from that level 2 blunder.
Both the culls cashed in. They are really sitting in a great spot, showing their resilience here as you say, you know, they were able to get right back in it and put themselves into a lead now at this point. Huni dropped the equalizer there for an attempt at a steal, and that's, I think, why FlyQuest did look to see if they could force something after it. You know, if you can force that fight in a 5v4 with no equalizer, there's pretty much no chance of actually losing that. And Huni is at a strong spot. You know, Goldenglue's still at a strong spot. EG definitely has a chance here. You know, in approaching 2 items, when Ezreal does hit that mark, we'll be in a pretty good spot as well. But I am concerned for EG, the fact that they had that lead, that it is kind of slipping through their fingers a bit, how good the late game champions are for FlyQuest, plus just how consistent they are in the late game with their team fighting. It's going to be tough to beat them, I think, going forward.
Well, right now, the turret is taking some chunks out of its health bar. This is a little bit of damage out from Bang. The turret's at down to about 1/3, which isn't too bad. And, well, here we are in 1,000 gold difference as EG can grab their jungle and get their buffs and stay alive in this game. You can see Svenskeren's the same level as IgNar at this point. He is having a lot of a harder time finding farm. Huni, at least the Gromp form, he's like, thanks, I'm level 8 finally. Keep up with that one. Of course, Santorin was already there. It's tough.
It is. It feels so bad when you're sitting at level 7 as a Volibear and you look over and it's a level 11 Corki. It's like, you don't want to gank that guy. You don't even want to be anywhere near that guy. So that gets tough. You know, when the Corki is that strong, you feel like you don't even want to go near him. But you also know if you're just giving him a free space to farm forever, well, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse.
And FlyQuest are happening more and more. Right? Outside of the fact that one Drake was picked up as a smite steal on the EG side, and by the way, that team fight was still won by FlyQuest. FlyQuest get their own Rift Herald now. Okay, they have to move around the map, right? Punch for counter punch. EG are still staying active on the map. All right, junglers up top side, our junglers bot side, we're pressuring your turret. First turret of the game, by the way, so at least Herald cashes in with that turret falling a little bit sooner. So there's more money in the pockets of Bang. He gets more money there, 156 CS on him, plus solo first turret gold is not bad. It keeps the gold now back in EG's favor, and hey, the Drakes are 1-1. At this point in time, the game is fairly close. I'm just curious what the mid to late game is going to look like as items keep coming through. Solo should have Ruin King off his recall, should make his 1v1 look really comfortable against Rumble. And we'll see what it turns into.
Landry's will be very nice, though, for Huni. You know, come team fight time, obviously a very powerful item. And I think so much of it is just going to come down to, can EG nail their engages? Can you actually get that ultimate over onto Turtle, you know, layer the crowd control with your burst, you know, get that Nautilus ultimate into the Scatter of the Week with Rumble ult on top? You need this sort of an engage where you're really roasting up that backline because they can't really fight front to back effectively. I think against Solo and Santorin and IgNar with the Trundle ultimate thrown in the mix, if you're allowing PowerOfEvil and WildTurtle to free fire, they should be putting out more DPS than the backline here for EG. So we'll see if EG can effectively pull off a dive, but a great arrow.
Again, stuns a champ with immunity this time around, though. He had Merc Threads and he ults away from the hook and stays alive. So that is at least an ult for an ult. Not the worst thing ever. Damage done. Turret's going to stay alive. You can see these teams now starting to contest themselves over this right-hand side of the map. This area of the jungle and the river beneath it is what's going to matter because the next Drake spawns in a minute 10, and that's what these teams are playing for. Yeah, decent damage out of Goldenglue. Recall's coming through. Again, as per usual, when there's 1 minute left on Drake, that's when you hit the recall button. That's the last time to shop. Otherwise, you're usually too late to help contest for vision control.
Exactly. Got to go back, grab those pink wards. We see 2 in the inventory of IgNar. Santorin has 1 as well. So they're going to be looking to fight for that vision, trying to set up as much as they possibly can. You know, as EG, you want to have vision so you can find those angles for engages, so you can be, you know, out of sight and maybe get that surprise flank or something like that. And likewise for FlyQuest, if you know that's the win condition for your opponents, then you're trying to prevent that by maintaining vision and forcing them to funnel into you through your frontliners where they can't get much done.
Okay, well, this is an ulti used to try to keep the turret alive. If Huni can tank the Herald, he's not going to be able to. Of course, Solo could fight the guy. So this turret is... it's actually probably going to one-shot the turret. It's going to be really close. Doesn't quite do it. If the overall game level were higher when it was killed, it would have done 2750, and I think would have been enough to finish the turret off. Regardless, turret stays alive. Rumble helped make that happen, but that means Huni is not going to contest for the Drake anymore.
Exactly.
There's no way.
Well, they're fighting for vision, so that's the problem, is you can TP in now, and without the Rumble, they are way weaker. Equalizer is the most important ability
Ashe
they have.
Back up. Volibear's isn't. They're going to land some CC, hook into the front line. Santorin pops his own ulti and siphons stats out of Zeyzal. But yeah, guess what? You're ultiless on your Volibear. We're going to walk at you. Solo knows he has TP, knows Rumble's match is not going to be as good. And so in they are. This took about 10 seconds of effort. They have taken control of the river again. Now, I will say EG got scuttled. That part was well played, but off they go. They fought vision, they got a scuttle, and at the end of the day, they're going to give up the Drake anyway.
Solo's also built more for the 1v1, so Solo doesn't even want to go to the dragon fight. He wants to stay in that side lane, so without Equalizer, Huni is essentially locking himself into what his opponent wants to have, which is that 1v1. And you know, EG will, as a result, have to give up the dragon. They also lost that top tower. They are trying to push in here and take that mid lane tower, which would be very nice for themselves. And Svenskeren here, threatening a flank.
And that is the turret going down. So at least parts of the EG comp are working, right? They're getting some stuff done. WildTurtle's Ashe is down in the bottom lane, shoving in a wave. That is some gold being left on the table, but of course way more gold earned by the fact that mid lane outer turret was slain, and it keeps the gold close yet again. But FlyQuest are at 2 Drakes so far. And if they wanted to go for Mountain Soul, that would be picked up before 30 minutes. If they can retain map control around the bottom side, every 5.
FlyQuest, it's very close, right? The gold is still in EG's favor. So, you know, I know we're sounding very kind of like, oh, FlyQuest is doing great. And it just feels like it's because of the pace of the game and because of the compositions, right? And that's kind of what we're more talking about. EG is going to be, I think, harder to execute on teamfight, harder to execute on composition. But they are right there. I mean, their carries do have quite a few items themselves. And we'll see if they can actually execute on those team fights, because FlyQuest, generally, you don't want to give up that third dragon. You want to start challenging there. You don't want your opponents to just comfortably get themselves at soul point. So I think it's going to be kind of a race to get as strong as you possibly can in this next 3 minutes to get towards that mountain dragon, where I think both teams will try to contest.
All right, so once again, look at the map state here. Baron buff is alive, or at least Baron itself is alive to be taken and claimed the Baron buff. We know the next Drake is in 3 minutes' time. But as you mentioned, yes, you want to fight for Drake 3. You don't absolutely have to, because it doesn't do all that much more except give a little bit of stats. But in about 7-8 minutes, that's when it gets really, really scary if EG keeps ceding map control. To your point, yes, they've kept the gold close. They've still found ways into that one. And they're catching farm pretty well across the board. Triforce, though, not too far away from PowerOfEvil. Arrow's gonna land, still hits Bang, but his front line is there. Here comes the ulti, here comes a lot of damage. IgNar's gotta run away from this one. Ulti backwards, dunks right back in, but Solo did it too early. Could not catch Svenskeren on that one, so now PoE's gotta look for the play in. Nah, has to Valkyrie back away. If that dunk was timed, I think, a little bit better, Svenskeren might have died. End of the day, though, he's able to survive.
Credit to Turtle, though. He's been pretty good with these arrows. They're consistently looking for fights off the Ashe arrow. Every time it's up, FlyQuest does try to prepare for those fights, but this time, EG was ready for him. And Huni had a pretty good equalizer, but without the CC layered on Ashe, they didn't even get the flash out of Turtle. They forced the heal, but he just quickly runs out of that equalizer, so they need to make sure that they're locking the Ashe down as they drop that equalizer. Otherwise, it's going to be too hard to actually kill off Turtle. I wouldn't mind if Turtle actually picked up some magic resistance for his next buy. You know, he now has the Blade of Rune King as well as the Hurricane, so pretty good as far as damage goes.
That TP is one of the worst TPs I've ever seen. There's no way you don't realize that turret is dead. Like that's just an objectively terrible play.
That seems like Bang probably just wasn't looking at the tower. He probably just saw that the wave was pushed in, maybe didn't actually mouse over to do it, maybe did it off the minimap and then looked, and I agree with you. It was down at like 10% health, and Huni didn't have equalizer to protect it or anything like that, so that teleport was never going to work out. Thankfully, it's just the one on the marksman, which honestly doesn't matter too much, but yeah, agreed. It's unfortunate teleport there for Bang.
All right, well, he's on the map. He's still catching his farm. 225, 6, 7 CS for him over the course of time as the cannon minion goes down. And once again, look at the game state. Drake spawns in a minute. If FlyQuest grab it, it is their third. If EG get it, it's their second. And that would be a very, very long road up. But slowing down the FlyQuest movement might make a lot of sense. FlyQuest currently up a little bit in gold. Triforce not yet done for Sett, so he is between spikes. PowerOfEvil should be there off of this top lane push, and he has TP as well. So as that wave goes down, I expect the recall into Triforce into fighting for that third Mountain Drake.
That's my assumption as well. When he moved forward to actually try to get that extra wave, which is considered much more of a risky one, I assumed he needed that extra little bit of gold for the Triforce. We do have Bang on those two items. Turtle not grabbing any MR, so he is going towards the Crit Cloak. Very likely will be an IE, but it still means if they can catch him, they can for sure kill Turtle. Because you have double AP solo laners and 0 MR purchased here on Turtle. He has no heal, so he is very squishy. He has to position really well, and if he can, then his build will pay off.
Yeah, he's got flash to get away from it. You can look for it otherwise. Big stun there. Going to look for that. Not going to catch Goldenglue, though. Good sidestep there for the Syndra. And now, looking towards PowerOfEvil. Has the package. Could be a possible play. Drake is alive now. Solo, trying to move around the right-hand side. Spotted almost by that blue trinket. Control wards get some safety. Hook over the wall's not going to land as a control ward gets rid of all the vision for FlyQuest. EG still feeling a bit more like they have control. Flash, ooh, jump forward for Bang. Architected in for damage. Mid lane's going to be knocked down. That's going to be more wave control as the ward is killed, and EG once again can play for that. Ulti for True Shot Barrage, going to spot some vision. Pillar up for Santorin. Svenskeren to the front. Package separates the teams. They're going to try to burn down the front line. He ults away, but he's going to be hooked right back in, and that'll be the first kill. The re-engage, what's it going to look like? Zeyzal's a bit low. Solo very injured as well, but it still means the jungler is dead. The package plus the pillar plus engage on the jungler was good enough. FlyQuest get a 1 for 0, and Huni's ulti is down. There are 0 ults for EG. How do you win a 4v5 without ultimates? You might just not. Pee-wee's going to recall and burn TP to get back in with full health and stay comfortable again. They're going to play this dance a little bit longer. TP back into the bottom lane. They're ready to keep fighting. 5v4, no jungler for 10, plus the walk afterwards. FlyQuest should have no way to lose this Drake. But EG still sticking around, looking for that play. Zeyzal going to walk around as well. 4v5. EG want this fight. The odds are against them, but maybe they can make it work. Down to 2k, solo punches. Santorin wants that smite. A little bit more damage comes in. Let him do it. Let him grab it. No problem at all. EG say, you're right. You had smite the whole time. It's yours after all, and finally walk back across the map.
Well played by FlyQuest. I understand why EG is sticking around because they're really hesitant to try to give up that third dragon to put their opponents at soul point. When you are this engage-based comp, Mountain Soul is erasing a lot of your win conditions because that extra shielding is going to make it so much more difficult to actually burst down these marksmen that they're already struggling to get to be honest. So I think it was smart from FlyQuest to play it out slowly, to base PowerOfEvil, heal them back up before they TP in and try to finish that off, since if you try to go at that dragon too quickly there and you're relatively low on health, then Ezreal has a chance to actually poke you off it and maybe make something happen.
And now you're going to see the other side of the map being fought over. Svenskeren still fighting for wards. You can see 41 in vision score, slightly higher than Santorin here. Takes down top Scuttle, keeps the vision going as best he can on this one. The gold still remains close. And at the end of the day, FlyQuest usually get 1 kill at a time, and then EG backs off. But it's always FlyQuest who feel like the team in more control. They've been stacking the Drakes pretty securely. I mean, this would be Soul if Sven hadn't stolen the first one and lost his life for it. This would already be Mountain Soul. This would be an absurd snowball if not for that one play. But it means that in 3.5, it's going to be all over, as a very nice Lantern of IgNar brings PoE to safety. But it means top is under fire, and EG gets some decent damage there. Goldenglue throws in the auto attacks. Decent damage here with Spellbinder done to Syndra. He's got enough AP for the autos to deal good damage. Knocks down some minions and will get turret number 3.
I wouldn't call it a dominant game from FlyQuest, but it's a very controlled game. The pace is exactly what they want it to be. They want it to be slow. They want it to be drawn out. They want to play this style where Corki and Ashe are getting the 3-4 items, and the tanks are getting super, super tanky. And all of a sudden, Corki just takes over, because Corki, especially once you have that rapid fire, which I assume is what he's going for next year with that dagger, really can become very threatening. PowerOfEvil's almost level 16, where the poke starts to really ramp up, and then that one Triforce auto with the rapid fire can be so devastating, where you're really knocking massive amounts of health off their opponents. EG are feeling the pressure, looking a little bit like they want to risk this here. We'll see if they commit to it or if it's just trying to force Solo's TP. I think as soon as they get the TP, they might pull off, but here we go.
Big equalizer completely shuts down the Corki, and Santorin's got to run for his life as another hook comes in. Solo has teleported in now as well, but
Huni's
the Baron has not reset. Huni staying inside the pit. Bang can jump over the wall after poking down. He's got to get over there at some point, finally does so. Zeyzal tries to anchor away. He's going to be 3 autos from dead, but they can't get the rest. Solo's got to be careful. Bang inside the pit keeps Baron from resetting. Santorin has smite, has flash, but now doesn't have vision. Hawkshot might be up soon. Santorin gonna run forward, ults for some health, tries to find the way in. Can he make it happen? Can he get the steal? He's gonna try, and you gotta believe he can do it. The smites come through, and Baron crucially goes to FlyQuest.
Heartbreak for EG as Santorin comes up with the hero play there. It felt like EG finally got a foothold in this game. Finally, something was going their way as they got a great engage on a PowerOfEvil. They kill him off. Huni kept the Baron leash, and you think, surely this is their Baron, but Santorin got some vision with the pillar there and is able to flash in and steal it away, crushing the hopes of EG.
Yeah, that just lets the air out of the room. When you're the coaches sitting back there and you're like, oh my gosh, it's a heartbreak. They got so close, and the Baron got to 45 health.
And EG, they were very low, but they were playing this out very intelligently, trying to keep them away. But now that their health bars were this low, they couldn't really walk around and zone Santorin off, but they did deny the vision. But he got to see that it was actually quite low. They drop another ward for him after the pillar expires. Oh my god, he smote that at 35 health. So a little bit mistimed there for Svenskeren and EG in general. If they had timed their burst a little bit better, That was a 35 HP smite. Originally, I thought that Santorin was the one who smote it to 35 and then killed it with an auto or a chomp at the same time, but that was not the case.
And there's a steal. Santorin smote at the right time. Once it was now too late, Equalizer over the top. They're going to kill Zeyzal. Health bar is not low enough. FlyQuest finding the individual plays. Arrow into hook into dead champion. Walk away, re-engage 5v4. Mountain Souls in 15 seconds.
And I think it's going to be theirs. Packages on PowerOfEvil. Solo is behind him. He can actually flash over the wall here. Bang gets himself into a bad spot and dunk him into the team.
First, though, Turtle's going to be attacked. Gets a lantern over the wall. He's got to be careful, though. One more skill shot will kill him. He just barely stays alive. Still, again, 5v4. Turtle's got to be careful about his health bar. Now, thankfully, he has Blade of the Ruin King. He can lifesteal back up. Drake is decent for that one. Get some honey fruit there as well. Bang. Just going to walk around towards the mid lane as recalls come through from several other members. Goldenglue will TP back in, but it's going to be too little too late. The Drake will be claimed, no problem at all. And Svenskeren has nowhere to go, but maybe to find some teammates. Has to run through the jungle. Not going to die just yet. Of course, we know the Mountain Soul is on. And Goldenglue wants to find Santorin, wants to find WildTurtle. Does have the ulti, does have some damage. Here comes the collapse. Can this be the play they need? Can somehow EG take this fight? They're getting some decent poke down, but Svenskeren's getting low. He's got to be careful. Gets locked up, gets taken down, and that's going to be nothing else done for EG so far. Dunk towards the back line. Big damage in a solo, but already a double kill in for PowerOfEvil. Zeyzal going to flash to the wall to stay alive, and PoE wants the chase down. Finds a rocket, looks for the arrow. Going to land that one. An easy triple kill for the German in the mid lane. And FlyQuest are running over this game. It's time for kill number 4. Equalizer, it's going to buy him some time, but Santorin is on the chase.
Bang is here. Could he help to turn this around? None of the DPS actually continue that chase with him, so Bang will be able to save Huni there at the very least, but Mountain Soul going the way of FlyQuest. They played that fight out really, really well. EG wanted to try to corral them, knew they needed to get more after losing the Bear and after losing the Soul, so they tried to stay around and have this flank come in from Goldenglue with his TP coming back and try to push FlyQuest together, but FlyQuest handled it really well, kind of reconvening over by that blue buff, using the lantern to get their members to safety, and once they were back together as a 5-man squad, they just straight up fought their way out.
Yep. Turtle deathless in a game that you surmised, hey, this could be difficult to beat Ashe. The peel is limited and the engage tools are good. His arrows have gotten like every pick this game.
They really have. He's been incredible with the arrows. Goldenglue did come in here from behind. This is after returning with the TP. He's trying to buy time for Zeyzal to come over, but here's the lantern. And Goldenglue flashes in, realizing that he's about to get away. They're trying to stop it, but now FlyQuest is together, and the position has been kind of swapped around because it was actually EG's members who were then separated. Bang and Svenskeren were up there. Sure, Bang can shift over the wall, but your jungler's already dead. IgNar is zoning out Bang. The chase can continue. Another arrow landing there for Turtle, who you said it has been on point with this, and EG just has not been able to find the correct coordination on these engages. Lots of times they're having great equalizers. I think the equalizers have been placed really, really well, but they're never able to actually get close enough to CC the marksman in the equalizer, except for that one pick over the Baron wall onto PowerOfEvil, and that one ended up being a smite steal anyway.
Yeah, so here we are. Mountain Soul on. Next Baron spawns in a minute 10, and FlyQuest showing no signs of losing this game. They have won fight after fight after fight after fight. A few counterpunches by EG. They have not given up here, right? Turrets have been taken for a lot of the lead. EG had the turret lead. They got first turret. They were first to 3 turrets. They even got the first Drake off a good steal from Sven, but it's never been enough. Now a chase towards Solo. He's going to run as fast as he can. Has to burn the flash to do so. Jump over. Equalizer as well, and EG. Again, they do find individual openings. Just sadly, it's never enough. They get a kill, but they lose a turret for it.
Something. At least it'll delay the push a bit, but you said it. It's just been FlyQuest playing the kind of game that they want to play. They're playing the pace that they want to play, and now you have to kill the marksman in the team fight, but they have Mountain Soul. They have the flat MR as well from 3 Mountain Dragons. Both their marksmen have a Hex Drinker to boot, so it's going to be very difficult for the Soul Laners to burst them down, and Ezreal can't really reach them. A full IE was purchased since we last checked in on PowerOfEvil, so he is ridiculously strong, and it's going to be really, really tough here for EG. It has to be a great engage, but it's been more Turtle who's been on point with the engages, honestly, and he's on the other side. They are looking like they just want to try to rush down Baron here. TPing and starting it up.
If there's ever a moment, it's the 5 seconds plus the 4 for the TP channel. If they can try to force that one out, but Solo's like, no, you're not doing anything. I'm just going to walk down to the rest of the base. We hawkshotted. You're not on Baron. It's no big deal. We're totally okay here. and they get to save that cooldown. The death timer does not amount to too much.
It's well done by FlyQuest. You know, they had that hawk shot. They also still had both their blue trinkets. One just got used there by PowerOfEvil, trying to scout out, see if anyone was coming at them from an angle they didn't already have vision on. But slow, methodical play whole game long here for FlyQuest. They draft for scaling. They're getting vision again here around Baron. Now they'll go back towards mid lane to try to get the wave going in their direction. And they can honestly take a fight at this point. PowerOfEvil is a bit split, though.
Stun, gonna hit Huni. Damage towards Zeyzal right now in the front line. They hook in Rumble, and he's gonna run out of health pretty fast. They flash forward, gets the equalizer on top. 1 for 0 so far, may get a second. Santorin's got to run, but he is so
Solo.
big, he won't die. Solo finds a backline, double stun, shut down for 1 kill for the second, and suddenly Bang is left alone. He will find a single kill. He will fight for his life, and it's game over. You said it, Santorin. It's the Bud Light Ace. It's time to run down the mid lane. FlyQuest, a fumble at level 2, but ever since then they have picked up the ball and ran with it straight down into EG's base. Keep the minion alive, knock down this turret. Look at that damage output there. A lot from Solo. Had that pick of the top lane from the very, very beginning. And FlyQuest will be 1 game behind second place as they close out the last game of Week 8.
Slow and steady wins the race here for FlyQuest. Some fantastic marksman play here from them. Very good team fighting, protecting both Turtle and PowerOfEvil consistently throughout these engages against a squad that had the tools they needed to potentially burst down those marksmen. And I've got to give a lot of credit to Turtle. Playing Ashe into this sort of an engage comp, I think is really, really hard. Especially, he didn't even rush the early Hex Drinker. He was positioning incredibly well. Credit also to his frontliners for making space for him. But he was also nailing arrow after arrow after arrow. And yeah, he wasn't the guy who was picking up all the kills in the team fights. That turned out to be PowerOfEvil. But I think Turtle played an incredible game here for FlyQuest.
Almost every single team fight that FlyQuest won was Ashe arrow into Thresh hook from, let's call it 2,500 units away. And now we're here, and your champion has to ult away, or flash away, or zone you know if you live, and the rest of the team fight worked out just fine. The disruption was there. I think super, super well-played game. Really, really good stuff out of the FlyQuest bot lane. And this is what I like most about FlyQuest, is I think there's so many teams where you say, yeah, you're really good because Bang is going to carry your team forward, or because Closer is a top 2 jungler in the league. FlyQuest have, I think, incredible players in every single role, and on the right day, any single one of those players can be the best in the league on their day. FlyQuest looked really threatening. They had what really just did feel like complete control over EG, who we know are a playoff caliber team, but it means they will drop farther down the standings. EG having some struggles in the back half of the split. When you compare to Spring, EG surged at the end, and you know it was a lot of Jizuke really stepping up, and that team worked out really well. This time around, of course, they have switched the roster, and late summer is not quite doing it for them. We will see them in playoffs, but they are edging closer to maybe even losing that upper bracket berth.
And it makes you wonder, do they pull out of this roster swap? Do they go back to Kumo and Jizuke, right? You know, are you losing confidence in this now? I think it's 2-4 now with the roster swap that they are sitting at. Yes, there was, you know, some rough patches with Jizuke and with Kumo, but that iteration improved a lot throughout spring. You know, was able to pull it together by the end of spring and look pretty darn solid. And Kumo got a lot better between spring and summer, I thought. So it's interesting to see where they will take us. But either way, EG has some work to do, and FlyQuest can be, I think, really happy with another well-played game.
I think that makes sense. EG with work to do. FlyQuest happy with a well-played game. With 2 more to go, there is a chance they can take that first round bye as well if C9 or TSM or really both stumble at some point. Now for a quick break, but on the other side, we've got the Verizon postgame interview with Solo. Stick around.
Look forward, hit the gas, focus on the road before you. The Honda Civic, with standard Honda sensing. It's fun. Always.
Welcome to the Verizon post-game interview. I'm joined by FlyQuest Solo once again after a successful 2-0 weekend. We've talked to a lot of people from FlyQuest in the last week, and there's a good reason for that. You guys have been absolutely killing it on the Rift recently. How have you been feeling with the team's form this late into the season where, you know, it's kind of the perfect time to sharpen everything up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that we're doing a lot better, and I think props to Turtle for coming back and not missing a beat, and like just kind of team feels a little bit more together now. We're playing a lot better, so it feels good, especially ramping into playoffs.
Is there anything that Turtle brings, like, apart from performance? Because obviously, like, he has been playing individually very well, but is it just someone that's a bit more experienced or has a bit more louder of a voice? Like, does he bring a different team dynamic that has been helping as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a really experienced guy, and he brings a lot of valuable things in that department, but also just he seems a little bit more focused and engaged in practice and in the game. So it's becoming a little bit easier to play around him and have him be like more of a focal point of the team.
Yep, he certainly said that himself as well when we did talk to him. But you've also been playing exceptionally well. Just on this matchup, though, you did something that very few teams are willing to do. You gave Huni Rumble, which is generally not a champion you let him have. So why'd you leave Rumble open?
Yeah, I mean, we knew he was going to pick either Rumble or GP, and it was like, okay, he just is going to be able to do this no matter what. So it's like, okay, we got to play into it. And he picked Rumble, and I was like, okay, guys, he's just going to want a group, and he's going to want a team fight, like, no matter what. I'm going to play split push. Like, he's going to try to avoid me. So my team was, like, really responsible, and we played around Rumble ulti really well. And, yeah, it worked out fine.
And then last question here. You have 1 week to go, of course, 2 games left. FlyQuest looking good, like you'll maintain your position. If not, perhaps sneak up a little more depending on some other results. How are you and the rest of the team feeling moving into the postseason, especially since there are going to be a few more teams this time around?
We feel pretty good. I think everyone has their fingers crossed that like TSM will lose a game and then we'll win out so that we can be third. But I think regardless, like everyone feels pretty good. We know that like during the season we dropped a lot of games we should have won. So if we're third or fourth, we know that like, you know, the only team that we're looking out for would be like Cloud9, but they're also even slumping. So I'm not sure how playoffs will be.
All right. Well, certainly seems like things are going right in the FlyQuest camp right now. So congrats on your win today, and thanks for talking to me.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right. With all that, we are going to throw things back now to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Pastry Time. Gentlemen, incredible action in this match aside, we have more pressing concerns at hand. We have bingo. Mark, you have done it for the fans and viewers at home. Postage stamp bingo is yours.
What can't I win? I win the game show. I win bingo. I'm winning in predictions.
This entire weekend has been your
LCS.
weekend, my friend.
It's sometimes I feel like it's boring to just win everything, you know?
2020 is your year, Mark. You're really impressive.
Thanks, man.
This is peak Mark Z right now. This is peak Mark Z. All right.
Tell the fans what I won them, James.
You've won a Hex Tech chest, a Masterwork chest, and key. If you want, you can go check out the LCS official Twitter, where you will see the winning card from Mark, as well as you'll continue to be updated throughout the day because the games are not over here. But I do want to transition and start talking about FlyQuest versus Evil Geniuses because this was actually a really, really big victory for FlyQuest in a continuing conversation around how the top of the table is actually not as decided as we thought it was. But I want to work through this game kind of one beat at a time because while we heard Solo there say they kind of had to pick their poison with what they would let Huni ultimately play, and they gave him the Rumble. What was interesting to me is that it felt like FlyQuest was the ones making the first play every time there, probably.
Yeah, this is pretty much the story of the game. IgNar actually makes us roam first, and however, this time Goldenglue makes a really good stun, so actually EG turns out on top for this fight, but that same story replays where IgNar or Turtle move and make a play, and that's really the players that we need to highlight because they're the ones who made all these plays work, even though the first one went south for FlyQuest.
Right, that aggressive FlyQuest was a FlyQuest that was firing on all cylinders in spring and Mark. It seems like they're reattaining some of that.
Yeah, I think ever since Turtle has come back in the lineup, they've looked a lot better, and you can see them making plays together down the bot lane, which is really great to see. You know, they've had actual improvements as well, but then here, getting the shift forced out and then being able to flash follow with the hook onto the flashless Nautilus, all that's great, and it sets up a lot of plays. And
this is something that was kind of missing with MASH, I think, that has come back with Turtle, is playmaking from the bot lane and being able to work really well together. And this is while still having the lowest duo proximity. You know, IgNar is still all over the map, and Turtle has been able to provide better laning performances, and his arrows were pretty great this game. They were always flying at key targets, and, you know, it's hard to hit all of them, but he still hit a lot of critical ones.
Yeah, we heard the casters throwing a lot of praise WildTurtle's way for starting a lot of those fights. Crumbs, let's talk about the importance of how that team is stepping up. And even as Solo said, WildTurtle not missing a beat coming back in. It seems like this team is returning to form at the right time as we move towards playoffs.
They're definitely getting back on track. It's good to see that the bottom lane in particular is performing, because there was a lot of games where they weren't doing a whole lot. It was really passive, particularly IgNar. Really like to see him on Thresh. But I don't want to understate how close this game was, because one person stepped up to really win the game. It was Santorin with that Baron steal. If that steal doesn't happen, I'm fairly confident that EG would have actually won this game.
Yeah, I mean, this was so important. You see the flash goes in, both smite, gets down to 35 health, and I'm pretty sure that's a bite out of the Trundle that secures it. And it's one of those things, it's hard to believe that with 5 members of EG around, somehow you have Santorin being the one to pick it up, and then that allowed them to actually go and control the Elder Soul, or the Mountain Soul as well.
It's really tough to fight all of these dragons because of the Corki package timing. PoE did a really good job just making sure that when the dragon fight comes up, you've got package. And at this point, EG is just salty. They've lost the soul. They want to do something because they've had to take a fight that doesn't even net them anything. And Svenskeren is like, can we just do something? And at this point, they're just too far behind. It's not going to pay off. The position that they're in is terrible, and they don't even have the major ultimates, particularly the Rumble ultimate that is so crucial to beat FlyQuest in the team fight.
Yeah, one play completely changes the game. Sorry, Probably.
I mean, I have to say, like, a little disagreement with Crumbs. Like, I think that Baron play, sure, it might have gone EG's way, but really I think EG figured out, like, the game is slipping out of their hands. They're getting outscaled, and they're just getting picked off. So they decided to go for this massively risky Baron, because that's just, you know, that kind of call. Like, Svenskeren's made it in the past. You know, it's like, I'm going to win the game for us or lose the game for us, so let's go do Baron. And they tried it, and then, yeah, just like you said, the salty run back where they're at Dragon, and they're like, well, we lost the Baron, it didn't work, so let's maybe try this one more fight without ults and in weird positioning. I think they just were getting really desperate, and they just didn't want to roll over and die.
I do think that Baron desperation play, though, is actually something that teams have to really get good at. Like, just last night, the top LPL team, top esports, goes for that kind of play. Like, half the time they're just like, let's just go for it, and they trust their junglers to be able to execute on it. So that kind of faith, if you don't have it on your junglers, you're going to be really surprised when you encounter teams that will.
Especially after they pick that PoE. Your points aren't necessarily contradictory to each other, actually.
Yeah.
You know, that I would suggest that Crumbs' point around needing to get good at that play, or you know, it actually aligns with your point, probably, that teams also need to be able to identify that moment of desperation, right? Like, okay, this is the turning point in the game. We're going to start losing if we don't take a stab now. I think that's a perfectly all right thing to realize, and then another thing to actually execute on the play. But it does explain how one play, one moment, and one player like Santorin can turn the tides of a game entirely. Mark, before we go, I just have to point out, it was pointed out to me that the one thing you don't win in is the stock market. So just, you know, keep that in your brain. Bringing you down a peg. There's one more game before we call it a weekend. Catch Immortals versus 100 Thieves here after the break.
Claim.
Happy note. Leave on a happy note.
Claim.
Not yet. You haven't won yet.
Claim.